With the days leading up to the launch of Modern Warfare slowly ticking away, but also still moving at seemingly a snail's pace, right now is a little bit quiet from an official standpoint. We still have things coming at some point over the next course of the week and a half, that at some point during that we'll likely see changes from the beta to the launch in terms of MP adjustments coming. We still have some talk about netcode apparently coming, and there's even that talk that maybe we get a little bit of information on the MTX system from an official capacity. But for right now, it is relatively quiet. But that doesn't mean that there's not information to discuss and out there, and that's what I want to talk about today. It's kind of a little bit of a mishmash of a bunch of different things, some things dealing with supply drops, some things dealing with cross progression and cross saving, and then also some things with Battle Royale. This information coming from our friend The Gaming Revolution, who we've talked about here many times on the channel. As always, his link will be down there in the description below, so do go check him out, go show him some love and follow him over on Twitter. But we're gonna be talking about some stuff that came out from his sources and that, again, fill the gap between what may be now a relatively quiet period and what may be an official statement on some aspects coming up. That said, let's jump into it. First and foremost, the thing I want to talk about and just get out of the way is that this is kind of a spoiler warning for the next upcoming week and a half or so, leading up to whenever we see the game launch and if reviews and everything go out for the game. But as with every single year, it seems like the game has been certified to gold, it has been pressed to discs, and now it is finally making its way to physical stores. So that means that you may very well see in the next couple of days some things on Twitter of people getting their copies early. You may be seeing some spoilers if people can get into the campaign if it's not time gated and locked off. That might be something you need to worry about, but just be aware that in the next couple of days to about the next week or so, we're in that sort of purgatory period where things are out there and spoilers may come across your computer screen, your phone screen, wherever you're checking out stuff at. It might just pop up there. Here on the channel, I'm going to try and avoid any major spoilers, anything like that. I don't want to talk about anything campaign wise. I don't really want to talk about too much in terms of things that may just detract from the overall enjoyment of the game and people experiencing it for the first time. I'd like to avoid that at all costs, so you won't be seeing that stuff here, but just wanted to give you a heads up that that stuff may very well be happening again very soon here, that those spoilers may come across wherever you're checking stuff out at. But anyways, let's talk about some of the content at hand, the leaked stuff that again isn't too major, but just confirms some information we either thought was going to be happening or just gave us some more information overall to paint the bigger picture of what the game will offer at launch and then potentially afterwards. Let's start with one topic that is definitely something of hotly debated contention recently, that being supply drops. Now, according to TGR and his sources, we're going to see things out of supply drops in these standard denominations that we've known for quite some time, that being items of common, rare, legendary, and epic stature. The one thing whenever it comes to this is that I'm really curious if we're going to see those odds placed on all supply drops. We saw that within COD Mobile as of recently, that is something that they do with all of their drops to let you know the exact percentage of the chance that you have of pulling that epic weapon that you really wanted, that weapon camo, that weapon itself. That stuff is something that was talked about that, if I'm not mistaken, the major platforms of Sony and Microsoft ended up coming together, and others as well, to put forth an agreement that would make games disclose the odds of anything in a loot box, in a supply drop. So Modern Warfare might be one of those games that ends up having to disclose these odds, and if that's the case, I think that's a great step forward, not only for the consumer here to see exactly what they're going up against if they, for whatever reason, want to buy into that system, but just in terms of general overall practice. It doesn't seem as predatory. But that said, that's something that right now we have been told, though whether or not it stays like that, cosmetic only will be supply drop content, so we'll be seeing things in terms of common, rare, legendary, and epic. But there also apparently seems to be the case that we'll now, from launch, have duplicate and non-duplicate protected supply drops, likely costing more things, and what we'll talk about here in this video is that it seems like keys may be returning in terms of that main currency. So maybe it's 10 keys for a supply drop, 30 keys for a duplicate protected supply drop. But that's something that should be coming back here, apparently, according to his sources. So that then begs the question in my mind, how will you be able to get supply drops to begin with? Because there's a lot of stuff already on the table that mirrors that of, say, Black Ops 4 system, which we've said plenty of times here on the channel is not favorable by any means. But apparently Infinity Ward, with this new system that they look to build out with quite a lot of different pieces in terms of new things like MP, new things like maybe seasonal rank, new things like this new system for supply drops, it seems to carry on that that theme of an interesting twist, where there's multiple different ways you can do it, and a lot of them actually come down to fun little mini games even, it seems. The one thing that TGR ended up posting earlier than the rest of this stuff was talking about beating the time and getting a supply drop, and it was a screenshot of the final time screen from FNG from Modern Warfare Remastered, which if you guys have played COD 4 or Modern Warfare Remastered's campaign, you know that's a training level where you're put through the ringer of how to use all your tactical equipment, use your weaponry and all that kind of stuff, but in a fun manner that is a tactical course that a soldier would actually do. So throughout the history of Infinity Ward titles and these things being in there, there's of course been this little subculture of the records that get set with each of them, and every single time we've seen Infinity Ward's time to beat with each of those. And apparently if you beat that time, you get a supply drop. Same thing goes then for something brand new apparently being introduced called Trials, in which this is going to be old training missions like FNG from COD 4, but you need a ticket to gain access to it. Every so often, once you rank up in your standard progression, you'll get a ticket to which you have 3 tries to complete the trial and beat the time given, and if you do, you end up getting a supply drop also out of that, but then you also end up having to re-rank up and get a different ticket if you don't beat that time in those 3 tries. So it seems like they're getting a little crafty here with this, and that's something that honestly I think is a pretty cool way to do it. I think it goes without saying, hopefully that's not the only way you get them, but if there's things that with your standard progression you end up getting them normally just by playtime, but there's also a bunch of other mini games, I don't think that would be all that bad. Transitioning into a slightly different topic here, but builds off of something that we already discussed here on the channel a little bit already. We talked about the Battle Pass coming, though I don't think it will be called that, but think of how Black Ops 4's tier system worked with that, but seasonal again to that same accord. Apparently, what's different this time around though is that things that are in those tiers will eventually go into the supply drop pool after that season is over. So meaning that if you missed out on, say, the item you had one tier after where you ranked up, well, that season ended, it's not going to be going away forever or anything like that. You could still end up getting it the very next day in the next season, but it would be in that supply drop loot pool. My only hope here at this is that we have something like we saw within Modern Warfare Remastered, within COD World War II, in that of the reintroduction of collections. I absolutely would love to see something like that happen, especially with these seasonal items. If they go right into the loot pool, it's one thing to have them be accessible via in-game collection and any in-game currency as well, like a salvage, but it's another thing to have them locked away behind an ever-increasing supply drop loot pool like Black Ops 4 had, and that's why the issues arose within Black Ops 4, because it became increasingly closer to impossible to get that item that you wanted. Every single time there was a content update, those odds just lessened and lessened and lessened. So if there's a way like collections to be able to get those things that you'd want organically and not just have to pit your luck against the 1 in 1,000 odds that you'd have to get it, that would of course be the way that I would want to see it. Something you could actually work towards and not have to test your RNG luck at. Switching focus again a little bit here for this, let's talk about Battle Royale for a little bit. This is still something that we don't have a huge amount of information on. We do know that Battle Royale is apparently going to be something that is being made by Raven for early 2020, and it's not something that Infinity Ward is going to take any of their focus off the current game and focus on Battle Royale like an in-house Battle Royale was done with Black Ops 4 and Blackout. So there's a lot to discuss, and we've talked about it here on the channel already, but just to build off of what we know, we apparently got some information about those said keys that we mentioned earlier in the video, and also a new cash system within the Battle Royale of Modern Warfare as well. Apparently you'll be able to collect cash around the map and by killing enemies. Right now, I don't think that we have any information on what cash will actually do. If that's something that the cash turns into an in-game currency, that'd be interesting and kind of cool. But said cash is something that will be of value in-game in Battle Royale in particular. And then whenever you end up finding it either around the map or picking it up off of the dead enemies that you ended up killing, you have the option to do one of two things. You can deposit it in the bank or the ATMs around the map, in which that will save it, and you'll end up having that secured for end game. But you could also end up keeping it on you, in which you could gamble it all away by either winning and getting a multiplier if you have it on you, or if you end up dying while having that money on you, you lose it for good. So that's something that, again, once we know a little bit about more what that cash does, it will of course give a little more clarity to the entire situation and that gamble that you'll be taking in game. But apparently you can also end up getting keys in Battle Royale, which is something that I think is, again, leading up more so towards those supply drops like we've talked about. And that's one big thing here with this that is seemingly nice out of this is that he's seemingly can be acquired in Battle Royale, which then maybe hints at it being something that's acquirable within maybe Spec Ops and maybe campaign even, but outside of just the isolated MP, where we'll see a lot of this supply drop talk come into play. Infinite Warfare offered the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, where you could get keys, that in-game currency, to buy those supply drops. You could also get that in Zombies. So that'll be nice if it comes back and it's something you can earn towards all of this in all the other modes. We know that, of course, with Black Ops 4, Zombies didn't offer really anything in terms of earning items. So to see that little twist would be definitely nice. Then the final thing I want to touch on here, and that's real brief, is the fact that cross saves apparently now 100% in play. We saw that with the beta where we saw cross console specific saving being a thing, but I would imagine that also extends out to then mode specific as well, where we see that Spec Ops and MP in particular are tethered together and probably going to encompass campaign as well, where you can work on your challenges for, say, camos, weapon mastery, and all things like that. So that'll be something to look forward to as well. But that's where we're going to wrap it up. That is everything here with this. We had a little bit of leaks here within the last 24 to 36 hours, and I just wanted to keep you guys in the loop for everything here with this. So that said, let me know your thoughts below. There's a lot to talk about here, so I don't really exactly have a specific question to ask you, but anything here out of this that stood out to you, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare. As we ramp up towards launch, we'll keep you guys absolutely involved with anything you need to know about Modern Warfare, so subscribe if you guys are new and want to stay up to date with all that. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, wherever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But let's head out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.